The pounding on my front door wasn't normal. 3 hard hits a pause, then 3 more like somebody had a script. When I opened it, 2 deputies stood on my porch, hands resting near their belts, and one of them said, "Sir, we're here about a report that you're holding stolen keys." Behind them, across my gravel drive, Vanessa Harrington, the president of our homeowners association, leaned on her SUV with a little smile like she'd already collected the trophy. I didn't even have coffee in me yet, and somehow I was being treated like a burglar. In the cabin, my grandfather left me. "Stolen keys," I repeated, blinking at the badge, then at my own porch rail, then at the calm mountain air like it was going to explain itself. The deputy kept it professional. "We received a complaint. Ma'am says you took possession of property that isn't yours." Vanessa lifted her chin from a distance. Clipboard tucked under her arm. Perfect hair. Perfect coat. That kind of perfect that makes you feel messy just standing near it. I exhaled slow because if I didn't, I was going to say something that would live forever in a body cam recording. "Officer," I said, "those keys open this door." I held them up. "This cabin is mine. I can show you the deed and the probate paperwork right now." The second deputy glanced over his partner's shoulder like, "Okay, we're already tired and it's not even 8 a.m. Vanessa called out loud enough for the neighbors to hear, "That's what they all say." That line right there was when I realized she wasn't trying to solve anything. She was trying to stain me. I invited the deputies inside, and while they stood on my entry rug, I grabbed the folder I'd kept on the kitchen table since the estate closed. Deed copy, county parcel printout, letter from the attorney. Everything boring, everything real. The first deputy scanned it, nodded once, and his shoulders loosened. "Looks like this is your property." Vanessa's smile didn't move. She just switched tactics like she was changing lanes. "Well then, he's in violation of HOA requirements. You can't have—" She waved at my cabin like it offended her personally. That. The deputy didn't bite. "Ma'am, that's civil. That's not for us." And she snapped, not loud sharp. "Then I'll handle it." That was the beginning. I moved into Cedar Hollow to be left alone. That's the whole point of a mountain town. Trees quiet, a sky that doesn't buzz. My grandfather built that place in the late 60s, back when homeowners association wasn't a phrase people used like a threat. I knew there was an HOA. I'd seen the sign on the way in. I figured it was basic stuff. Snow plowing, maybe a shared gate, keep your trash from blowing into the creek. Vanessa turned it into a private government. 2 days after the deputies left, the first letter arrived. Violation notice. It listed things like my porch light being non-conforming, my woodpile being unsightly, my truck being commercial. I'm an electrician. My truck has ladders. It's not a personality. It's how I pay for groceries. Then came the administrative fee. Then the follow-up inspection notice. Then the sweetest one. My favorite potential lien action if non-compliance continues. I drove to the little community center building where the HOA held meetings. Vanessa sat at the head of the table like a judge, and the board members around her looked like people who'd stopped making eye contact a long time ago. I kept my voice even. "I'm happy to follow reasonable rules, but you can't threaten a lien over a porch light." Vanessa didn't blink. "We can, and we will." I leaned forward. "This cabin predates this HOA by decades." She tapped her clipboard, smiling without warmth. "Then you should have done your homework before you moved in." I actually laughed one short, disbelieving breath because the audacity was so clean. "I didn't move in. I inherited it." She tilted her head like that was my problem. "Inheritance doesn't exempt you from standards." That's when I saw it. The play wasn't to make the neighborhood nicer. The play was control, pressure, paperwork. Wear me down until I gave her what she wanted, and she wanted something more than my porch light. A week later, I caught her on my property. I was walking back from the shed and saw her SUV parked just off my drive, half hidden behind some pines, like she thought the trees were a legal shield. Vanessa was standing near my side door phone, out taking pictures. "Hey," I called, not yelling, but not friendly either. "You're trespassing." She didn't flinch. She turned slowly like a villain in a low-budget movie, except she had better shoes. "I'm documenting violations." "You're on private land," I said, stepping closer. "Get off my property." She raised her phone, aimed it at me, and said, "Say that again." Oh, so that's what this was. I stopped, looked right into the lens. "Vanessa, you're not allowed here. Leave." She lowered her phone and gave me that thin smile again. Or what? I wanted to say, or I'll drag your SUV out with my truck, or I'll call the sheriff, or I'll... anything. Instead, I just said, or I'll put cameras everywhere and send the footage to the county. Her eyes narrowed just a flicker, and then she walked back to her SUV like she was doing me a favor. That night, I installed cameras, not because I'm paranoid, because I'm practical. One on the porch, one covering the drive, one on the side of the cabin, motion lights, cloud storage, a little metal box under the eaves that says politely, "Smile." The next few weeks got uglier. Letters started coming faster like she'd found a printer that ran on spite. Notices with bold text. Deadlines. Threats of board action. And every time I tried to respond like an adult, like, "Let's talk, show me the bylaws, show me the boundary map," she'd dodge and escalate. Then in the middle of it, she went back to the police. Again. This time she didn't say stolen keys. She said I was threatening her. She said I had weapons on the property. She said she feared for her safety. I stood on my porch watching a patrol car roll up, and my stomach did that slow drop like a roller coaster that never gets fun. The officer walked up and said, "Sir, we just need to ask a few questions." Vanessa was across the road filming from her passenger seat like she was recording content. I answered, calm, short, because the more you talk, the more you give people something to twist. When the officer left, he didn't even look at her. He just said, "Ma'am, stop contacting us about civil matters." Vanessa's face tightened like she'd just been insulted in a language she didn't speak. That night I sat at my kitchen table under the warm light of a cheap lamp surrounded by paper letters, printouts, fee schedules, HOA bylaws I'd downloaded at midnight like a lunatic. I stared at my own name on the envelopes over and over like it was some stranger they were hunting. And I'll be honest, I hit a wall. Not "I'm guilty" doubt, not "maybe she's right" doubt. Just that heavy question that shows up when you're exhausted. Am I really going to spend months of my life fighting a woman with a clipboard? I thought about selling. I thought about walking away. I thought about how easy it would be to stop answering letters, stop checking the mailbox like it was a trap. Then I pictured her smile behind those deputies on my porch. And I realized if I left, she wouldn't just win. She'd learn that this works. The shift didn't come from bravery. It came from anger, clean, focused anger. So I started building a file. Every letter got scanned. Every inspection attempt got logged. Every time her SUV crept near my drive, the camera caught it. Date, time, plate number, clip saved. I wasn't trying to be dramatic. I was trying to be undeniable. 2 days before the next emergency HOA meeting, somebody knocked on my door soft, this time hesitant. It was a younger guy, maybe mid-20s, wearing a hoodie with a local contractor logo. He kept glancing behind him like the trees had ears. "Are you Ethan?" he asked. "Yeah." He held out a plain envelope. "I shouldn't be here, but she's been telling Trevor to get proof. Like, make it look like you're in violation." My throat went dry. Trevor. He nodded, uncomfortable. "Her boyfriend. He runs that contractor crew. They talk like they own the neighborhood." I opened the envelope right there. Inside were printed emails, a list of properties with notes and a schedule, actual dates for rechecks, photos, witness statements. One line made my skin crawl if needed access, exterior door to document unsafe entry hardware. In normal language, they were planning to mess with my door. I looked up and the kid was already backing away. "I didn't give you this," he said. "I was never here." And then he disappeared into the dusk like he knew exactly how ugly this could get. The meeting was packed. Neighbors I'd barely met showed up not because they loved drama, but because everyone in a mountain town knows one thing: if somebody's trying to take a man's home with paperwork, it can happen to you next. Vanessa sat at the front with a microphone, hair-perfect posture, perfect eyes, bright like she'd been waiting all week for this moment. She started smooth. "We're here due to a serious situation involving safety concerns and repeated non-compliance." She pointed at me. "This homeowner has refused cooperation. He has installed surveillance. He has harassed board members. He has—" "Hold on," I said, stepping forward before she could build momentum. She lifted a hand. "You'll speak when recognized." I paused, then smiled small and sharp. "No, I'll speak now." You could feel the room shift like someone opened a window. I walked to the front, plugged my laptop into the projector they used for their cute little budget charts, and faced the crowd. "My name is Ethan Cole," I said. "This cabin belonged to my grandfather. I have the deed, I have the county parcel map, and I have something else." Because Vanessa doesn't understand how cameras work. Vanessa's smile wobbled for the first time. I clicked play. Video 1. Vanessa on my property taking pictures, ignoring my request to leave. Clear audio. Clear date stamp. Video 2. Her SUV creeping down my private drive at 10:47 p.m., headlights off for the first few seconds, like she thought darkness was permission. Video 3. 2 men in contractor jackets walking up to my side door, checking the knob, then stepping back when my motion light snapped on. The room went dead quiet, except for the projector fan. Vanessa snapped, "That is edited." I didn't even look at her. I just held up the envelope. And these are emails and schedules involving board leadership and a contractor crew. They outline plans to create proof of violations and attempt access to my exterior door. One of the board members shifted in his chair like he wanted to melt into it. A neighbor in the third row, Hank Sullivan, the guy who fixes roofs for half the town, stood up and said, "Vanessa, is that true?" Vanessa's voice rose. "This is a smear campaign." Another woman stood. "Why did the police show up at his house twice?" A third person, older, leaning on a cane, said, "Because she does this. She did it to me." Vanessa's face flushed a hard pink. She gripped the microphone like it was going to save her. "You're all being manipulated." And then the back doors opened. 2 sheriff's deputies walked in with a man in a plain jacket, county investigator, maybe holding a folder. He didn't look dramatic. He didn't need to. "Vanessa Harrington," he asked. Her mouth opened, and nothing came out. "We've received multiple complaints," he said, calm, including evidence of false reports, harassment, and coordinated attempts to interfere with private property. Vanessa stood up so fast her chair scraped like a scream. "This is ridiculous." The deputy stepped closer. "Ma'am, turn around." The room didn't erupt. Nobody cheered. People just watched, stunned, as the person who'd been playing Queen of the Mountain got treated like anyone else who crosses a line. Vanessa looked at me one last time, eyes wide now, no smile anywhere, and I felt something strange. Not joy, relief. Like my lungs had been tight for weeks and finally remembered how to expand. She was escorted out, still talking, still trying to control the narrative. But the narrative had already moved on without her. And as the doors closed behind her, I realized the real power she had was never the HOA paperwork. It was the fear people swallowed to avoid conflict. Lesson learned: paper bullies only win when you let them write the ending.